Like a lot of people, I've gotten into Warhammer 40k from playing Space Marine 2, so I just wanted to show off my building and painting of my very first Space Marine. The original goal of this video was to show off the kind of finished product of the introductory Warhammer 40k box. Unfortunately, some of my army has been lost to the battle against Chaos in the Warp. You know, you hate to see it. I definitely didn't drop them and accidentally have them run over. Anyways, since then I have painted a couple more of my Tyranids and painted a Primaris Tech Marine, which I'm going to show off in all of its glory towards the end of the video once I walk through the process of building and painting the first miniature, because I'm someone who's never painted or built really any miniatures like this before. I've done a lot of Legos, you can see some over there, as well as some kind of wooden or cardboard kits, but I've not painted and built something like this before, so it was a new experience for me, and I just wanted to share that experience with you guys. With that said, I hope you enjoy the video. Just going to be looking at and going through the process of what it's like as someone brand new to building and painting miniatures in the Warhammer 40k universe. Now, I will say I've learned a lot since I have recorded this video. In terms of painting and building, that is. I've learned quite a lot since then, so it's not great in my opinion. But, you know, yeah, everyone's got to start somewhere. So if you're someone who is interested in painting and building 40k minis, I would highly recommend it. I would say go for it. There's some really good starter kits, but I'm going to stop talking and let's just get into the video. So the starter kind of pack that I got came with all these really cool things, including this manual that kind of has instructions for playing the game and just overall instructions and tips for painting. This was a model that I received from the store. That was like a free one. That was a glue model, not a push fit one. And then I also got this extra set of paints, which is great considering I half my paints were destroyed, but all good. I just want to say also I love the presentation of this box. Opening it up was very fancy, very cool, very exciting. You got the Space Marine fighting Tyranids there. So sick, especially coming from Space Marine 2. And then the classic and the grim darkness of the future, there's only war. I also came with this really cool playmat, which unfortunately also kind of got pretty destroyed in my unfortunate fighting incident with my soldiers. My soldiers may not buckle or yield, but they did. Some of them fall, unfortunate. Obviously, this is everything that comes in the instruction set. I was like, yes, these pliers are very important. I did not realize how important those were going to be. I think those were dice. Anyways, that came with a lot of good base paints. I did buy some extra paints, including some kind of contrast paints for the face, and then also contrast paints just to kind of add some black shadows and darkness into all the crevices and stuff, which I don't believe I do in this video. But I learned how to do after the fact and decided to, kind of add it to my model. Because here in this video, I just do the quote-unquote basic paint of the model, and that's without a lot of the contrast painting and all that. But with all that said, I really did appreciate how this showed you how to build your model, considering these are all push fits. And there's my first Tyranid. I did do a Tyranid off screen and painted said Tyranid off screen. And I really was proud of how this one turned out. This is my very first one. I love the contrast with the paint and the gray. After getting used to painting in general, I did go back and decide to do these little adjustments here with my Tyranid. So sick, adding kind of like this fleshy look to everything, because that was a tip that I had read up on. So now this is me going through cutting up my very first model. And as you can see, not only was I having trouble kind of cutting, I was having trouble cutting and keeping it in camera. That'll be a recurring theme here. But I love, like I said, I really enjoyed the how to build section, because as someone who had never done anything like this before, the fact that it does come with a kind of push fit, I think is pretty good. I was kind of like, oh, well, why aren't all of them like this? This is way easier. And it is easier, but it definitely leaves a lot of cracks and very visible indications that it's a push fit and it's not going to be glued. But again, if you are new and you are worried about putting your models together, don't fret. If you get like an intro model kit like this, it does indeed show you exactly what to do. And even it showing exactly what to do, I was a bit confused, even as someone who's built Legos and other like kind of model kit type stuff. It was a little confusing, I will say, mostly because the way these things were numbered was a bit weird. Numbered on the sheet they're all in. It was pretty confusing, but you figure it out, and I mean, for the most part, there's only one way everything can go. And here we have my fully first put together Space Marine. I was having some trouble getting focused, Not really used to filming a setup quite like this, but man, I was so impressed, let me tell you, with the detail on these things. I knew these miniatures were going to be small. I did not realize just how small these guys are. It's so impressive at how much detail is in every single tiny centimeter of these models. So I decided to do the kind of base blue paint off screen. So you kind of start here with this, and I'm just going to go in and fill in all the black. I just thought that would be more interesting. I will say this was my very first painting, and yeah, looking back, I did a lot of things I wish I had done different. Like, I'm not entirely sure why the book has you paint everything with a base of blue first. I found out later that probably painting everything with a base of black would have been better. I could get black under everything and then kind of add blue, because as I quickly am beginning to find out as I'm painting in this video, trying to fill in all these tiny crevices with black is really, really hard, especially considering I did not have a very good brush. That is one tip I would highly, highly recommend if you want to get into this. Buy a brush outside of the brush that is in the starter kit. And here we are, my first base with the black over the gun and all the little details. And by all the little details, I mean missing half the details, but that's okay. I really had a good time painting the trim around the armor plate, although it is so hard, especially with the brush that came with the kit. So painting all these tiny details, I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting a different brush. And speaking of all the small details, this was when I was applying the first coat of the gold trim on the shoulder pads. By far my favorite part. This gold looks so good even as just a base paint, and I absolutely love the color. Now, something I would like to mention is that I don't do in this video at all, actually, is any kind of detail. I just this was my very first painting, I'm learning, but after the fact, yes, I've learned that, okay, it'd be good to go kind of over everything with a kind of light contrast paint to get the black and all the crevices and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I think that was my favorite part of painting all these, of going outside of something that I am used to, putting them together, sure, I'm used to that, but actually painting and really getting details and all these really, really small areas is something I'm not used to, even building other kind of wood models and Legos. But with that, this was my quote-unquote completed first ever Warhammer painted miniature, obviously a Space Marine. So that was the look at my painting and building the very first miniature I did. So now I just kind of show some of the ones I've done since, including this fully fleshed out Infernus Space Marine. I had a really, really fun time getting a hang of this once I kind of looked up some tips and tricks, such as painting some of the silver here and like the back gold and all this kind of stuff, all the tiny, tiny details, which I, didn't tackle initially, obviously, but have learned to do. And I love the metallic on the guns. And obviously I didn't do too much, but I tried to do kind of him walking in the mud. So you see mud on his shoes, kind of mud around the boots to indicate kind of him like stepping and everything. And then my absolute favorite paint and building job I have done out of these, this is really the only other one I bought outside of the main kit. I say really, this is the only one I bought outside of the main kit. This was the Primaris Tech Marine. And this, I actually haven't really entirely finished it. He's practically done. I need to do touch-ups on a couple things. I need to paint his face, paint this little symbol here, and do the basing job. But when I say this thing was so fun to paint, y'all, I love this one, and I'm really proud of how it's turned out already. I need to paint that back symbol cog thing as well. But I love the materials. I love all the little details on the axe and the arm. Huge fan of how this turned out, particularly with the red and coating. It looks, man, I love this so much. It was such a fun time, particularly because I got to use the gold paint and more of that silver kind of gritty paint that I use on the Infernus Marines guns. So big fan of this. I really like the Adeptus Mechanicus. So I'm looking into maybe getting that combat patrol box, although I don't really like the flying figures in there. But either way, huge fan of this guy. This was an absolute challenge for sure, but really fun to paint. I will say, I think I mentioned this in the video. I think I said I liked painting some of the termagants. I have since then not really been enjoying painting them as much, mostly because I'm just not good at it. Trying to get like the fleshy tones and everything. I got some contrast paint to kind of help with that, and I feel like it's it's really easy to mess up. And so I have done that. But yeah, I just really like painting all the little details and everything, and I've really had a good time in this hobby, and it's something I wouldn't have really given a chance or discovered. I mean, I say discovered, I knew of it, you know, adjacently in the public sphere of knowledge. I knew what 40k was because of our boy Henry Cavill. I would have never really thought I would enjoy it if it wasn't for Space Marine 2 and really falling in love with the lore and the world of 40k. It's incredible. As someone who is really into sci-fi and fantasy and all of these things, that all this stuff that Warhammer has a tons of high sci-fi and also has like very dark medieval tones. It's got a little bit of stuff for everybody, really, but it's been a great time. And if you're new to the hobby like me, I would love to hear your experiences, or if you're someone who happened to stumble upon this video who's been a veteran of Warhammer 40k miniature painting and building for years, I would again love to hear your thoughts and your advice and anything. If you want to see me paint more, give me some suggestions of like singular figures. I don't really think I'm gonna be playing the game that much because I looked into the rules, y'all. It seems pretty complex, I'm not gonna lie. And as of right now, I just want to paint cool figures, and I'm like, oh, I want to paint that guy. Oh no, that's his position. It's already taken up by like a figure I have, whatever. I just want to paint the cool ones. So for now, I'm just gonna be painting and building, but maybe, who knows, I'll get into playing one day. If I have the infinite budget I need for an army, because man, these guys are really expensive. But with that said, let me know anything you would love to see my time experience painting, or any other future Warhammer videos. But I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one.